And we are live on Tuesday, October 4th, in the year of our Lord 2022, around 8 p.m. Pacific time. And we are in beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. And we're praying that the internet works better in the evening than it does in the morning. Hi, Jason. Oh, my cursor popped out of chat. There we go. Oh, wow, what a day. I had an appointment for a scan with contrast this morning, but the transportation that my insurance company agreed to provide never showed up. So I called the insurance company and they said, oh, it was canceled. Well, that was news to me. I didn't cancel it. And nobody told me it was canceled so that I might make other arrangements. Fortunately, I was able to reschedule the scan for next week. But since my insurance requires 30 days notice in advance, they won't be able to provide transportation next week either. Hi, Witta. So I have to get a friend to drive me to the doctor, well, the clinic next week for my scan, because my insurance company screwed up and didn't take me there today. And with gas at somewhere between $6.50 and $7 a gallon, that's a great imposition. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the cats are all over me for treats. They're hogs. They're little kitties wanting their kitty cat candy. Aren't you? Hi, Sweetie Pie. Even Sweetie Pie, who freaks out if she thinks I might touch her. The horror is demanding treats. And here's Tora. Yep. Silly kitty cats. I made jam today. First time in 2 years I've managed to make a batch of jam. The clerks at our local post office have been begging for apple butter. It's like an apple jam. And the stuff you buy at the store is as loose as applesauce. They like it the way I do it, with a little extra pectin so it gels better and doesn't just run off of your toast. It actually stays put. And of course, it has tons of cinnamon. That's, well, the store-bought stuff does too. But I add a touch of Chinese 5 spice, which is basically cloves with a few other ingredients, 5 in total. But my back is killing me from standing there and stirring the pot. But I'm happy. I made apple butter, and they're gonna. You see, we have to go to the post office to pick up our mail. They don't deliver here in the mountains. Some of the roads are really difficult, steep, narrow, winding, not winding curves, tight curves. But yeah, I'm in town. My street is straight, almost level, but no, I have to. They give us a free post office box because they don't deliver. I'm okay with that, but I can't always get there. It's 3 or 4 blocks from here, and I can't walk one full block. Not yet. I was getting other people to shop for my groceries, but it wasn't working out too well. They um, don't. They tend not to get exactly what I asked for, or they can't find what I want, or stuff like that. They don't think to call me and ask. Like when I wanted mincemeat, um, my friend was looking in the meat section of the grocery store. Mincemeat is like a mincemeat pie or mincemeat cookies. It's made from apples and raisins, and you find it in the section with the baking goods like flour, baking soda, cake mix, frosting. Oh well. Now I can go on the grocery store's website and order from lists with pictures and everything, but the delivery costs $10 on top of what I'm buying, and they can't accept food stamps on the website. I do have food stamps. I'm that poor. And this is California, so everything costs more. Anyway, I do once in a while get a delivery because I need heavy things like cat litter. And the few friends I have are older than I am, and I'm 68. I know I don't look it. And in this lighting, my hair is not looking as gray as it really is, but yeah, 2 more years and I'll be 70. Horrors, horrors, horrors. Anyway, I'm all messed up from. I had to fast after midnight, nothing to eat or drink, and then wait and wait and wait for my ride to show up, and they never did. And I did not get the CT scan done because they didn't show up to take me there. And now I have to go through this again next week, but next week I'll have a friend to drive me, and she won't let me down. Oh well. And I'll for the scan I have to drink this nasty stuff. They wait until you're there to have you drink it. So at least I didn't sit at home drinking this nasty barium sulfate solution. Oh, then I'd be even more angry. So anyway, if they had told me the ride was canceled, I could have made other arrangements. Criminy. So, I still don't know whether I just have a lot of ulcers and a hiatal hernia, the stomach pushing its way up through the passage in the diaphragm where your esophagus, your throat, the part that has food, comes down through the diaphragm to get to your diaphragm to get to your stomach. So apparently the hole in my breathing muscle is a little too big and my stomach is a little too active. So I've got that hernia and lots of ulcers, and I'm hoping that's all it is because they want to look for cancer. Jeez. I'm praying no cancer. It's so good to have people in chat here. Yeah, well, I have to work on fixing me up too. Part of it is my diet. Now, I've never cared for hot peppers, and they told me not to eat them, and I said, sure, no problem. But one of my favorite foods is Polish sausage, kielbasa, same thing. They told me not to eat that, it's too spicy, and my stomach is. Now, this is the doctor talking. She said, your stomach is on fire. It isn't just like one or two or even three little ulcers. The whole thing is like burning up. I don't know why. I guess they better check for infection as well as cancer. Or parasites? I don't know. But I think I'm getting enough protein now because my hair and nails are much more healthy than they were just a few months ago. Oh, I got itchies though. Oh, thank you, Witta. She hopes they can fix me up. They wanted me to use Gaviscon because I could not tolerate the prescription medication for my stomach. I mean, it didn't stay down. Doesn't work too well if it doesn't stay in there. But I don't know. I'm going to look up Pepsid because a few years back, a different doctor, she who will not be named, but wouldn't listen to me. All she wanted to do was give me a flu shot. She did prescribe something that I think was it was a pill, but I think it was at least similar to Pepsid. So I need to do some research on that. But I still love the pink stuff the most. Pepto-Bismol. I cut way back on it because I read something about side effects of using it a lot, and I was using it a lot, but I don't remember what the side effects were, so I have to look it up again. You see, back in 1957, there was this deadly flu going around, and I almost died from it. I was 3 years old and I had a near-death experience. At one time, I thought I must have been 4 years old, but no, I was 3.5. the half is important at that age. Well, anyway, I survived that in 1957. Then 12 years later, 1969, the swine flu was killing people. I had a runny nose. I was taking care of sick people. And 2 years later, there was I think they called it Hong Kong flu. They had a way of calling every flu we got something to do with China. Well, anyway, I didn't get it at all, no symptoms. And these flu epidemics were killing people. So, what do I need a flu shot for? I had the flu twice, decades ago, and a decade apart. This doctor, who shall not be named, just didn't want to hear anything but, "I'll take your flu shot." No, I won't. It's an unnecessary medical procedure. I do take the tetanus shot when I need one. I think it's every 10 years. I'll have to look that up too. I'm not sure. I'm not anti-vax, but I am against unnecessary medical procedures. I mean, there I was, 25 pounds underweight. I didn't think a flu shot would help. And they were not helping me to gain weight. Now I'm 35 pounds underweight and in serious trouble. I haven't weighed myself recently. I rarely weigh myself at all. I let the doctors do it. But I haven't seen a doctor in a month or more, maybe 2. So I don't know what I weigh, but I'm guessing that I've gained some weight because, once again, my hair and nails are so much healthier and I feel better. I just wish I could talk about current events on this platform, but I have to censor myself or they'll censor me. There's so much going on. It does look as if um, Elon Musk will own Twitter within 4 days. Oop, hiccups. Sorry. And he's promising to fire something like 1,000 people and then hire 1,000 people because of this cancel culture, he calls it. I'm just quoting Elon Musk. Don't censor me, YouTube. That's just what he calls it. I've been posting on Twitter, which I rarely do, but I thought, these alphabet books for children, A is for Apple, and so forth. I've been posting things like A is for artichoke, or G is for goldfish. Having fun with it, just so my account is a little more active and I won't get in trouble for what I say. Oh, I got itchies and tickles and cats. Some people have dandruff. I have cats. I love my kitties, though. But when I set the jars of jam on the counter to cool after they'd been processed in boiling water, Tora decided that that was a good place to sleep. I don't know how she managed it. She got between the jars of jam and the wall of my kitchen without knocking anything over. But I had a devil of a time getting her out of there. I had to move all the jam out of the way and grab her, and she resisted. But I don't want her in the habit of sleeping on my kitchen counter. I suspect that it was the warmth, the heat of the jars of jam that attracted her. Cats like warm spots. In fact, Tora owns my heating pad and my electric blanket. We'll have a real tussle come the real winter. We had a week of 95 degrees. I think it was closer to 2 weeks. 95-degree highs, followed by a week of highs of 60 and lows in the 40s. Now we're enjoying a week of highs in the 70s and low 80s. Hi, Circle K. Good to see you. Circle K used to be the little convenience store where I would stop for snacks while I was on a long drive. I had a long drive to work. At first, it was from Norco, North Corona, to March Air Force Base, which wasn't too bad. And then it was from Anaheim to March Air Force Base, which was bad. Over 50 miles. And then I was also teaching at the Marine Air Base in 29 Palms, 100 miles from March Air Force Base. So I would teach at March Air Force Base, drive to 100 miles to 29 Palms and spend the rest of the night and part of the day sleeping at a Motel 6, and then teach. These were night classes. And then I'd teach a night class and drive 150 miles home to Anaheim. Oh my. So Circle K, I get water, of course. 29 Palms is real desert. You got to drink a lot of water. And snacks, salty snacks like potato chips and pretzels. Ah, Circle K. Well, what's going on is I have to raise hell again with my insurance company for failing to provide a ride to a medical appointment. I made the reservation over a month ago. They never told me that they canceled it. I did not cancel it, but this morning they did not show up. And I am steaming, but I didn't yell at them. I just let them know this is unacceptable. So Circle K has a name that's hard to pronounce, hence the nickname. Okay. Maybe I should call you Kierkegaard. That's a name that starts with K. Someone Phil used to talk about. For listeners to the rebroadcast, Phil is my late ex-husband, Philip K. Dick, author of Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall, and more. Oh, and of course, Valis, Radio Free Albemuth, A Scanner Darkly, Screamers, He called it Second Variety. The movie is Screamers. Oh, and that one gem of a movie, and I don't understand why it was not a box office hit. Um, oh dear. Where the I think the story was Human Is. The alien is like a chameleon. He impersonates his human enemy, and the human enemy's wife likes him better than her human husband. What's that called? Imposter. It's a great movie. I don't understand why it didn't make more money and get a wider audience. And of course, Radio Free Albemuth just was not filled with shootouts, car chases, explosions, etc. It told the story, the real, original story of Valis. Phil's first Valis novel was what we know as Radio Free Albemuth. And it's a great movie. But again, not a box office hit because no shootouts, no car chases, no explosions. Oh, Circle K has read 13, lucky 13 of Phil's novels. Didn't want to die without reading P.K. Dick. Yeah. Well, I've found that now many of Phil's works are available as audiobooks. So when I'm tired because my health isn't that great and I have to lie down for a while but I'm not sleeping, I'll play an audiobook. I had fun with the one called Mr. Spaceship. It's mostly a fun story. I've forgotten the ending. I've forgotten whether it was sad or not. Oh dear. Whoa. Hi, Oswald. The gang's almost all here. You know how they say, "Hail, hail, the gang's all here." Well, you're coming in. Sadly, some members can't tune in at this time of night because they work nights or they're in a different time zone, etc. But what can you do? There will be a replay. Oh, let's see. The Orange Man is suing CNN. I doubt that CNN has any money left. Their ratings are in the tank. But he's claiming, let's see, slander and libel. Slander is the spoken word, and libel is the printed word. And in this day of internet, CNN does both. We'll see how that goes. Many recent lawsuits have been not even heard. Judges reject them on technical grounds like you have no standing. But lots of people are still trying to get lawsuits heard in a court of law. Win or lose, it would be nice to have a clarification from the bench as to exactly what our rights are and are not. Martian time slip, Circle K, that's a good one. Actual scientists credited Phil for that book for a unique and plausible theory about autism. That Manny, the autistic character, is unstuck in time. That he can't respond to his present environment because in his mind he's somewhere else in terms of time. Let's see, Oswald. Oh, Jared Kushner. Oswald posted, Jared Kushner just announced on national TV that he believes he's part of the first generation that will live forever. I suppose he thinks he can put his mind into a machine, a computer, or a robot. Well, the computer might be able to convince others that it is the person who was transferred into the machine, but I doubt that it really is that the person who actually died and was transferred into the computer has any awareness of being alive. Transhumanism. Let's see. They all read too much Heinlein and not enough PKD. Yeah, Circle K and Witta are good, loyal viewers, listeners, and chatters. But so is Oswald. You're all great. Oh, Oswald says, all of my viewers are his favorites. I'm liking this lighting, the subdued sepia background and the light right in my face, which kind of bugs me, but I think it looks better on screen than the backlighting that I like. I like backlighting because it's spooky. Well, Cardinal Sin would disagree, but oh well. Oh, Circle K says I'm a good writer. Thank you. I have a few books, and just as I was making progress on the books I already have going, I had this great idea. I was napping, but not asleep, as I tend to do. Just relax for a while. I had this great idea for another book. I'm going, wait a minute, I have to write the ones I've got. So I think maybe I'll write a few notes. I don't like to outline. But when I discovered that you get better points, hi, Cardinal Sin, speak of the devil. When I learned that you get higher points on an essay if you outline it, especially on a test like that test I had to take to be a substitute teacher in K through 12. Oh, I wrote the essay and then I wrote the outline. It's backwards, but I don't write from outlines. Oh, I don't remember which book I sent you, Circle K, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think at this point, at least, my masterpiece is The Darkening of the Light. I wrote most of it in a frenzy, like Phil used to do. He would sit and type really fast and for hours, stopping only to eat something or go to the bathroom. Um, it was as if the book was writing itself through me rather than me composing the book. But of course, I did go through and try to tie things together, adding things that made different parts of the book cohere and work together. How many days? Well, not exactly channeling, although it was the way Phil used to write. Um, how many days did it take me to write it? I don't know, but it was the rough draft took me 2 weeks, but I spent a year editing and adding to it, just here and there, not continuously. I had other projects. The rough draft was about, oh, I don't know, at least 50 pages shorter than the finished book. My most recent book is Blade Runner creator Philip K. Dick, and it's basically a review, a critique of the two Blade Runner movies and the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I have to admit, I liked both movies, but they are not really Phil's story. Deckard is not an android. Harrison Ford agrees with me. Deckard is not an android. Officer K is, obviously, in the second movie. What was it, 2024? That's only 2 years off. We don't have androids or replicants just yet. Oh, Circle K asks for books for birthday presents. Cool. Anyway, I did like both Blade Runner movies, but I can see why they flopped at the box office. And the first one was unfairly, I think, uh, flopping because it had to compete with E.T. E.T. the extraterrestrial. E.T. phone home. And there was another movie at the same time, but I've forgotten which one it was. Maybe it was, what's the one where they all, in, in the end, the spaceship, the UFO comes down and lands and they communicate to it through music. And all these alien abductees have the opportunity to go back with the aliens. Close Encounters. Might have been that one, but I'm not sure. Your sister wants a robot? That is crazy. I have enough trouble with this laptop computer and my cell phone. I don't need a robot. Those Roombas, the little robot vacuum cleaners, just freak me out. And I'm sure my cat would first frizz up and run away and then decide to kill it. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Was that? Thanks, Cardinal Sin. Was that the one that competed with Blade Runner in '82? I don't remember. I don't dare try to Google. The internet isn't that great. It's just that it won't work at all in the morning. Gotta love Verizon. Might have been. I know E.T. competed with Blade Runner. But the second movie, the sequel, if you will, I want to strangle the marketers. They advertised it as a, cowboys in space kind of thing. Well, cowboys and robots. Shootouts, car chases, explosions, the whole thing. And then you get to the movie theater and it's an art film. For 2 hours, artistic. And then something finally happens, but it doesn't make sense because they didn't pay enough attention to continuity. But I did like it anyway. But I know why it flopped. Whoever did the marketing was an idiot. And they should have reined in the artistic part. That movie could have been an hour shorter. The closing credits alone took half an hour. Might have been 45 minutes. I know it was long, but that's okay because you can always turn it off or leave the theater when the closing credits are running. But it needed some tightening up in the first hour at least. Very artistic, but not going to make money, not going to bring in the audience. And you can release the director's cut later. And 3 hours with no intermission. People do, they're drinking a 32-ounce soda. They need a break, a good long break to stand in line to use the restroom. Oh, the desktop is wonderful. It's just that I'm using the laptop tonight because I like the background, and I have to get a couple of big, strong men to move things around if I'm going to have the desktop pointed this way. Oh, 2049. I don't know why I thought it was 2024. Okay, Cardinal Sin says, I felt like Blade Runner 2049 was 1.5 movies and another 1.5 movies that had a Venn diagram somewhere toward the end. Yeah, well, what pissed me off the most was when Love, the evil android or replicant, went to the police station so she could murder a cop in a brutal manner. Supposedly to use the police computer to find Officer K, after they had established that the police computer could not find Officer K. He wiped his hard drive, so they couldn't, and made a point of it too. But Love could track Officer K through his virtual girlfriend, who was on this like USB stick that he kept in his pocket. She had done it once before, maybe twice. So it makes no sense. She didn't need the police computer and it couldn't find him anyway. Oh, two big strong men over at my place tomorrow. Um, Maybe, but I thought we were just going to have lunch together, Cardinal Sin. I'm not in a huge hurry because I've got all these boxes of stuff that I hauled in from the shed so I can sort and organize. Every week I put out the maximum amount of trash, and once a month I get a guy with a truck to haul away more trash. It isn't just my stuff, it's also stuff that people left here and never came back for. And I didn't think it would take nearly this long, but for 2 years I've been hobbling around on a broken hip, and about 8 months ago and again 6 months ago, my back just decided to break. Malnutrition. At least now I have halfway decent doctors who might actually help me get my digestive system working again, I hope. Let's see. I should be seeing Walter Bosley and Cardinal Sin and having a pleasant lunch and conversation. And maybe we can talk about things that I can't say on YouTube. They already took down one of my videos, wouldn't tell me why. They just said misinformation. They did not even reference COVID. All I can think is, well, I described my personal experience with the jab. Now, how my personal experience can be misinformation, it's just my experience, but oh well. I am looking forward to seeing Walter again and meeting Cardinal Sin. He's made the long trek to California. It reminds me, I was on the phone with a representative of my insurance company this morning, my health insurance. And that person had, after being born in California and living in California for more than half a century, moved to San Antonio, Texas. A lot of Californians have done that. You see, prices keep rising, taxes keep going up. Gasoline is somewhere between $6.50 and $7 a gallon, and that's for regular. Cardinal Sin just quoted, ah, come on, brain. I know the guy. Uh, uh, ah, one of my favorite old time actors, and I just lost his name. It was here a second ago. When Hollywood was new, he moved from New York to California to make films, to make movies. Made the what is officially the first talkie, although I beg to differ. There were early clips with sound, but this was a complete movie. And my brain is just not giving me his name. But he sang that song, California, Here I Come, right back where I started from. Al Jolson. Got it. Great song, too. But I'm not here to sing tonight. Usually, if I'm going to sing, I go get in the shower. That's where everybody sings. The acoustics are great. Yeah, California. The once golden state. I don't understand why the recall of our governor failed. We've suffered from both political parties. No repeat Pete Wilson, Duke Majan, Arnold. You know, Schwarzenegger. Let's see, Oswald says, speaking of songs, Loretta Lynn just died today at 90. Wow, she was that old. She mentioned in detail she had Rh negative blood in her book, but Oswald can't find the old link that describes it. Interesting. Yeah, I've got Rh negative blood. So when my son was born, I had to pay an extra $35 for the Rogam shot that's supposed to prevent you from having a bad reaction to a second unborn baby. If you're Rh negative and you give birth to a baby who's Rh positive, there can be some mixing of blood and you have this allergic reaction that doesn't really affect the mother, but the next child might get killed. And I never had a second child. Circle K, I don't know about Jeff Bridges. I don't really follow celebrity news. But sometimes, it pops up on I don't know, Facebook or YouTube or in my email, I get notices of like KFI and other news stations, although KFI has an awful lot of talk and not so much news anymore. They're the 50,000 watt clear channel station. We don't have that designation anymore, but on a clear night, you can hear KFI, which is in Los Angeles. You can hear it in Seattle. You can hear it in Dallas and Denver. And of course, I turn it off at night because I don't like George Snorri. I used to like Saturday nights because the fill-in host was Jimmy Church. I don't take church seriously on many topics, but, well, especially crystal skulls. I'm not impressed by crystal skulls, but he quit doing Coast to Coast, and he has his own show. Yeah, Oswald tries to neither believe nor disbelieve the news. Oh, Witta says Jeff Bridges is still alive, according to Wikipedia. Yeah, UFO sightings. Well, the deniers of UFOs are out of their minds. There are things in the sky and we don't know what they are. They are not necessarily flying saucers. They are not necessarily aliens from another world, but they're there and people see them, and we ought to investigate and find out what they are instead of going, oh, there's flying saucers. No, there aren't. UFOs are a hoax. You have to be insane. You're wearing a tinfoil hat. That sort of thing. No, there's strange things in the sky. I'd like to know what they are. I seriously doubt that anyone in our government really knows. I mean, there will be some people who know about some things. Like if it's a military aircraft, somebody knows. But they won't tell us. And when they don't know what it is, they can't tell us. But there are things in the sky, and they're weird. And they finally admitted that chemtrails are real. Oh, but it's nothing to worry about. We're just doing experiments. Kind of like angels don't play this harp, HAARP, that facility in Alaska, which is actually one of many in the world, that uses high voltage electricity to lift the ionosphere and supposedly for better radar reflection. Well, it changes the weather, that's for sure. And as for ghosts and ESP and psychokinesis, moving objects without touching them, all the paranormal, sure, a great deal of it is real. But don't dabble in that stuff, it's dangerous. And don't go off into woo-woo land. An actual guest on Coast to Coast that they seem to take seriously, or George Norrie did, was a psychic medium who channels aliens from the Pleiades who want us to save the Earth from global warming. I don't think so. That's just someone pushing an agenda and crediting a source that you cannot check. I mean, I can't call up the Pleiades and ask the aliens if they really sent that message to her, can I? For most of my childhood, they were warning us that we were going into an ice age because there was so much air pollution. Well, we pretty much licked the problem of visible air pollution, not in China, but here. When I was young, you could not stand near a car that was parked and idling because of the noxious fumes, visible gray and black fumes coming out of the tailpipe. Carbon neutral is a buzzword invented by British Petroleum. Yeah, carbon neutral means you put out a ton of crap into the air and you plant some trees in I don't know, Cartagena. Cartagena comes to mind because of that movie. It's sort of a comedy adventure. Michael Douglas, and I forgot the actress's name, but she's an author who's looking for her sister or something. She writes romance novels, and the leader of the drug cartel doesn't kill them because he's a fan of her novels. What was that movie called? I'd like to see it again, but I can't find it if I can't come up with the title. Oh well, when I have a spare moment, I'll look up Michael Douglas's filmography. Buzzwords, yeah. Well, now it's global warming. Only now it's climate change, because for 10 years the world got cooler. It seems to be getting hotter, at least here in California, but Farmer's Almanac says we're in for a brutal winter. And Southern California will not get the worst of it. We'll be a little better off than people north and east of us, according to Farmer's Almanac. Well, that's how a drought ends. You get a whole bunch of snow. I really don't think we have that much effect on the climate because historically and in prehistory, we've had the world, I think it's actually the Triassic, not the Jurassic, where, whole continents were just jungle. And it was hot and humid all the time, all year round. And then we had that huge ice age that ended probably around 12,000 years ago. Except technically, we are still in the ice age. We could use a little warming. This is what they call an interglacial, but we haven't gotten warm enough. And if all the coastal areas are going to be underwater, why do all these rich people build their homes on the edge of the ocean or the Great Lakes? Humph. And as far as islands sinking into the ocean, the wealthiest people usually own an island or two. Romancing the Stone. Thank you, Cardinal Sin. I was totally blank on that, but that's it. Oswald's granny still has a cottage on the shore of Lake Michigan. Oh, you lucky duck, Oswald. You got to visit. In the summer, there's mosquitoes, and in the winter, it's cold. But maybe spring or autumn would be nice. Yeah, yeah. So your granny is not rich, but I bet she's had that house all her life or most of it. Recently, real estate prices up here on the mountain skyrocketed, and a lot of, well, not wealthy, but upper middle class people from Los Angeles bought homes here because they wanted to escape the chaos. And the prices skyrocketed. So, what that's done to me is increase my property taxes. On the other hand, the county is providing more and better services because we have a larger tax base. Um, Oswald, sorry the rest of your family is awful. That's how I felt visiting Dad. He had his second family, stepchildren. Ugh. The one saving grace was that they played cards. They played pinochle. But I thought they were just too delighted when they beat me at the game. I don't play so much to win as to enjoy playing, although it's nice when I win. Pinochle is kind of like bridge. You have partners. It's almost the same thing, but the lowest card in your hand is a 9. Let's see. No, that's in two-handed pinochle. Yeah, it's in all of them. The lowest card in your hand is a 9. Goes 9 through king and then the ace at the top. Anyway, I can play bridge if someone reminds me how to bid because it's so much like pinochle. So anyway, my granny and grandfather had a nice little 2-bedroom home. It was really in Culver City, but might as well have been West Los Angeles. They bought it originally for something like $5,000, maybe 10. I'm not sure. I think 5. Back in the dark ages, around 1950. So it was probably 10,000. The war was over, and there was a lot of inflation. Anyway, when they sold it around, let's see, oh, somewhere in the late 1980s. No, it had to be closer to 1990. They got over $250,000 for it and moved to Oregon, where they paid cash for their house and put the rest of the money into their retirement fund. When Granny passed away, my grandfather died 5 years earlier, I think. No, more than that, 10 years, because he was 5 years older. Anyway, I have to do the math in my head. Anyway, 10 years after my grandfather passed away, my granny passed away, and she Okay, she had two daughters, but one, my mother, had died. So mom's sister got half of everything. And then mom's children, there were four of us at the time. We split the rest four ways, and I got enough for a down payment on the house I have now. Which is cool. I'm struggling to hang on to the house, but I'm hanging on. Lord. Romancing the Stone. I've got to watch that again. I've seen it many times on, I don't know if it was Netflix or whatever, something online. I haven't been to movie theaters very much. I used to be able to count the movies I had seen on one hand. When I met Phil, I had seen Sleeping Beauty. I was very young, but I remember it, and my whole family went. My parents took me and my two brothers to the drive-in theater, the Culver Drive-In, and we watched that. And then years later, I saw The Jungle Book, the cartoon version, Disney, at a local theater on the matinee. And then skip a few more years. Dad took me to see The Odd Couple, and Mom was up in arms. She thought it was about gay men. Mom was highly prejudiced. It's like, who cares? It's a good movie. Okay, so that's three. And then I saw, trying to remember, Gone with the Wind, which by then was, like more than 30 years old, or close to 30 years. Um, and then I saw 2001. So that's five movies I had seen in the theater when I met Phil. Once in a while, I would go to Denny's with friends and get a cup of coffee for 5 cents. I thought we were poor. We were not. Mom was selfish. My father was a CPA, for crying out loud, a tax accountant, and Mom never ran out of coffee, booze, or cigarettes. But we barely had enough to eat, and it was crap. Uh, Circle K's family has infighting as well. Let's see, Witta says I was mentioning audiobooks. Horror Babble YouTube channel did Phil's short stories The Hanging Stranger, Beyond the Door, The Eyes Have It, and Tony and the Beatles. I've seen, or rather listened to, Beyond the Door. You see, what has happened is after Phil died, the copyrights had to be renewed, and the literary agent missed quite a few of the short stories. And it has made it possible for people to release those stories as audiobooks without paying any royalties. On the one hand, I think that's okay, but on the other hand, it means that Phil's children don't get any money for them. Nothing I can do about it. They shut me out completely when Phil died. But that's a long time ago. 40 years ago. Oh, top ranking. You're in Crestline too? Don't remember seeing you before. Okay. I don't remember who came up to me at Goodwin's. Oh well, I guess you don't want me to say your name anyway, so it's good that I can't think of it. I'm terrible at names, and my short term memory isn't that great. Oh, was that in the parking lot? I kind of remember, sorta. Yeah, Crestline is a wonderful place to live for the most part. Oh, now I know who you are. That was a long time ago, but I know who you are. And you have a lovely voice and great talent as, in many ways. That's all I'm going to say. I did see you at the beach during a market night before all the lockdowns and shutdowns. I tried to get a good photo of you, but my phone just isn't. Well, I don't have that phone anymore. It just wasn't that great a phone camera. Okay. Horror Babble has high quality sound and great readers. That's good to know, Witta. I'm tired of many of the audiobooks where the reader does not know how to pronounce the words or puts the emphasis on the wrong part of the word or the wrong part of the sentence. But I don't, like post a nasty comment or anything because I figure, they're just people. It's cool. And some of those words and phrases are kind of difficult. But this evening, or actually earlier today, I was getting really upset at these professional broadcasters who don't bother to learn how to pronounce the things they're talking about. They're these great experts and professionals, and they can't pronounce the English language. It isn't as if you couldn't go to Google and say how do you pronounce. I'm like, hello. Language is my thing, not just English. Although I've lost most of my vocabulary in German. I used to be quite fluent, but I have no one to speak German with. So I'm just kind of losing it. I'm going to have to start rereading some of the books that are in the German language and try to build back my vocabulary. And my high school Spanish isn't that good, but I can communicate a little. Let's see. I didn't think I would enjoy audiobooks. I love the written word, but then I remembered a long time ago, someone gave me a cassette tape of Rising Sun, SON, a thriller, takes place mostly in Japan, the land of the rising sun, like their flag. And it's like spies and stuff like that. And the only tape deck I had was in the car. So when I was on a long drive, I'd pop the cassette tape into the player. There were 2 or 3 cassettes with someone reading the book aloud. And I did enjoy that. Let's see. Oswald can only listen to an audiobook if it's read by a British robot. Odd you should say that. I've been listening to Agatha Christie's novels, mostly Poirot, read by Hugh Fraser and, oh, come on, Brain, the guy who played Poirot. Can't come up with his name. But read by the actors who played them in the TV series. David Suchet, thank you. Top ranking. Yeah, my water's empty. Hang on just a minute while I get a refill. I'll be right back. Dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I just like to fill dead air by going dum-de-dum, like the theme from Dragnet. Ah. Okay. There was, I forget where it was from, someone on TV when I was very young would go dum dum diddly dum. I don't remember who it was. I was too young to know anyway. So, in Irish music, they call it lilting. Okay. Oh, Circle K's being naughty while my back was turned. Just kidding. Are you the Get Smart theme? I don't think so. I can't remember the Get Smart theme. But it was based on Dragnet. I miss shows like Get Smart. The 60s, there were many sitcoms, but they were, I don't know, I think they were much better than anything since. Yeah. When Maxwell Smart is going through all these doors, and at the last one, he ends up holding his nose. Yeah. But most people immediately zero in on Dragnet when I can't call it hum. I guess I'm lilting the theme. There aren't any words that I know of. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we had Get Smart, Laugh In, I Dream of Jeannie. Um, Johnny Carson was still alive doing The Tonight Show. And Doc Severinsen led the orchestra. Oh, cool. Circle K had a neighbor who played the Get Smart theme on his tuba sometimes. He was an awesome poet, too. That reminds me, rap and hip hop are not music, they're beat poetry. That doesn't mean they're bad, it just means they're not music. Beat poetry used to be something that poor starving poets would recite in dark, smoky bars where the beatniks hung out. Now it's making millionaires out of these rap and hip hop artists. I'm not saying I don't like it. I like Rage Against the Machine and Fight the Power. Apparently, they're in fierce competition with each other, but I like them both. Oh, it's the frequencies? Could be. I just keep thinking of, and I've forgotten the guy's name, but a radio personality was assaulted by a man who kept asking him, "What's the frequency?" Because the man believed that radio waves were invading his mind and torturing him. And he blamed this radio DJ for it. And he wanted to know the frequency so he could block it. Oh no. Now they want to make rapidy hop a music genre? Ah, okay. Oh no, you can't go to Rage Against the Machine concert unless you have a vaccine passport. Well, I can't get um, the passport. I don't know. I get those free COVID tests in the mail and they always come out negative, but I don't know how far to trust a home test kit. The dude needed an EMF beanie, Circle K says. Yeah, he needed a roll of aluminum foil to make a hat, but I've been told you have to use copper, and there is a guy making a fortune selling hats lined with copper, like copper netting, a mesh made with copper wire. Okay, I'm don't Taylor Hawkins. I'm not. I don't know who that is. I live in a cave. I don't go out much. Foo Fighters. Oh, I know who the Foo Fighters are. Yeah, I did see that somewhere in the news. Hmm. I don't know. It seems like a lot of weird things are happening lately. Young, healthy athletes are dropping dead from heart attacks. Food processing plants are burning to the ground. Our weather is really screwed up. I don't say climate because if it lasts a few days, it's weather. Climate lasts for years. Um, and I'm sure that somebody in authority is messing with our weather. The problem is with weather modification, you can't really be sure what the result will be. You don't know what you're going to get. Although China did manage to clear the air for the Olympics a few years back, primarily with cloud seeding, and they have air pollution on a scale you would not believe. But they probably shut down the factories temporarily to reduce the pollution. But I'm really wondering how many SUVs we were driving in the medieval warm period. How many SUVs were we driving during the Little Ice Age when the Thames, that river in London, froze over and they set up tents and had markets on the ice over that river. That's climate, but it wasn't caused by SUVs or um, coal burning uh, power plants. Well, there were, no, not at that time. In the 1800s, they developed steam engines that burned wood or coal, but that was long after both the Little Ice Age and the medieval warm period. During the medieval warm period, they were growing grapes in the north of England. During the Little Ice Age, people were freezing to death. They were just desperate for fuel. Foo Fighters drummer. Mom warned me never to date a musician, and especially don't date the drummer. For the same reason why you don't date sailors or salesmen. Of course, my first really serious boyfriend was a salesman, but he wasn't a drummer. He wasn't a musician, couldn't sing to save his life. But for various reasons, I dumped him. Yeah, there is no settled science. There really isn't. They were telling us avocados were bad, they're full of fat. I ate them anyway. Now avocados are good for you. And what ticks me off is that I cannot buy chocolate milk. It's made with non-fat milk. It tastes like chalk. I have to get milk, real whole milk, which is now 3%. It used to be 4%, but it's better than non-fat. And put chocolate syrup in it. And fat doesn't make you fat. Sugar makes you fat. It doesn't make me fat, but most people get fat if they eat a lot of sugar. Let's see. Even the band would agree. Circle K says, I'm not sure with what. I guess about the Foo Fighters drummer not being a good guy to date. Science fiction writers are always a safe bet. Well, I love to listen to a good drummer, but I don't want to date him. Okay, I'm going to correct somebody's spelling. It's one of those snark words. The way they're spelled just doesn't make sense, but that's how they're spelled. Cymbals in a drum set. Don't ask me why, I don't remember. More Dunhills? Well, I did find. Where'd I put it? I found a smoke shop near my house. And I bought Dunhill Red. I'm rationing them severely. $16 for one pack. Not that long ago, I could buy a whole carton for $10. A carton, 10 packs. Anyway, it's across from the Shell station on Lake Drive. Used to sell carpets and flooring, and before that it was Crazy Alice's thrift shop. Now it's a smoke shop and they actually have tobacco. Imagine that. Oh, I'd be delighted if you send some. If you buy them locally, you're around the block from my house. Oh, you don't like symbology instead of symbolism? Well, there is a difference, but they're using symbology incorrectly. Symbology, Circle K, is the study of symbols. Symbolism is the actual use or occurrence of symbols. Uh-oh, Circle K's keyboard is in trouble. Oh, is trouble. Yeah, Oswald, smoke shops in Oregon just sell vape equipment and marijuana glass equipment. We have had an occasional smoke shop that did that. Hang on, I got a tickle, probably a cat hair. You didn't need to see me get that out of my nose. I used a napkin. I don't pick my nose unless it's absolutely necessary. This shop has some glassware. Just a sec. Um, but they have the full range of cigarettes. And when I asked about Dunhill, oh, yes. And they have the black and the green and the red. So I got the red ones because that's what Phil used to buy for me. And I like them. But I'm okay with Camel filters. They're almost as good as American Spirit, but they don't cost as much. The filters are just cotton. Many of the cheap brands have fiberglass in the filters and nasty chemicals. And frankly, I don't have a death wish. And I'm not, I've been criticized, oh, you're not a real smoker. I'll show you. Not going to light it, but a real smoker will go and inhale it into their lungs. I don't do that. I burn cigarettes. I puff on them. The smoke goes in my mouth and out either my mouth or my nose. But I don't suck it down into my lungs. I'm not that crazy. On the rare occasions when I tried pot when I was in high school, I just couldn't smoke it because I'd have the most horrible coughing fit. But if I sat around other people who were smoking pot, I'd get a high, a contact high. Oh, yeah, well, there's a Calvary church, and that isn't cavalry. You're right, Circle K. It would be with an A, not an E, but you're close enough. And frankly, American English spelling was not standardized until uh, Noah Webster, with a little help from I forget who right now, but they standardized American spelling. So instead of color being COLOUR, we, as it is in England, we just spell it COLOR, and a few other differences. Uh, oh, Top Rankin used to fully smoke, breathe it in and all, gave it up in 96. Oh, you're spring chicken, Top Rankin. I'm 68. Anyway, I've tried all kinds of ways to quit smoking. It doesn't work. And frankly, I enjoy smoking. I don't do drugs. I don't drink to excess. Once in a while, I put a little peach schnapps in my orange juice. Well, schnapps has the same amount of alcohol as vanilla extract, and nobody fusses when you add vanilla to your cakes and cookies. And the alcohol does not cook off, by the way. Anyway, American spelling is still changing, and sometimes it makes sense, and other times I want to put on the brakes and say, whoa, 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 you're going too fast. Words like through, THROUGH. Yeah, I know it's easier to write THRU and everybody understands it, but I kind of like the history of how they used to pronounce that. It was something like through. And then there's Canadians. Phil used to tease our doctor he was Canadian. First time he went there, Phil said, "You're Canadian, aren't you?" The doctor said, "Well, yeah, how do you know?" "Well, you say oot instead of out." Well, I've paid a lot of attention to Canadians on YouTube and finally realized they're pronouncing both vowels, the O and the U. O oot. Oat. So it isn't oot. We say out, most of us in the US. Yeah, tobacco smoking used to be the only reliable treatment for tuberculosis before penicillin. Oh, and that wonderful discovery of penicillin that science gave us. We have penicillin because Alexander Fleming was too lazy to wash the dishes before he went on vacation. He just dumped his petri dishes full of bacteria into the sink and took off. And when he came home, he noticed that some of the bacteria were growing, but some of them were not. And there was this funny looking mold in the dishes where the bacteria had died. And that's why we have penicillin, because Fleming was a lazy bum, not because he was a scientist. And you know Hubble? There's a space telescope named after him, and he discovered that the Andromeda Nebula, is what they called it at the time, was not inside the Milky Way, and that it is a separate galaxy. He was not a scientist. Hubble was a lawyer who managed to get some time on a telescope because that was his hobby, astronomy. He was an amateur. And he gave us all these incredible discoveries in astronomy. Oh, but now you have to be a scientist. You have to have a piled higher and deeper. That is a doctorate degree, a PhD, if you dare to have an opinion about science. Excuse me? Isaac Newton was a clerk, but he was a mathematician. His famous book, the Principia Mathematica, the Principles of Mathematics. Yeah, it had not a theory of gravity, but a mathematical explanation of how gravity works in terms of it being less powerful when it's far away. Let me clarify that. The gravity of the moon on the Earth, yeah, it causes tides in the ocean, but it's rather weak. But if your spacecraft goes close to the moon, its gravity is rather stronger because you're closer. And it's the inverse square law, the strength of the gravity changes, I'm going to say decreases, as the square of the distance. Well, that's enough math for one night. My brain is rebelling. Yeah, but tobacco by itself isn't that bad. It's the crap they put in it. The Vangelis score for Blade Runner is awesome. The problem with it is that the timing is off. Whoever married the soundtrack to the images has Vangelis's wonderful score out of sync with the action. They'll have a glorious fist fight with peaceful music, and then they'll have a quiet, gentle scene with in the music. Drives me nuts, and I'll bet they did it on purpose. But it isn't artistic, it's annoying. I still like Blade Runner 2049 and the earlier one that was released in 1982. Okay, Top Rankin says score. Oh, I see. That was a typo. Yeah, it's an art film with a little bit of an action adventure tacked on to the end of it. And I'm not sure about the rebel replicants living kind of like homeless people in the, I guess that's a sewer or I don't know, some kind of tunnel. Um, okay. Why am I blanking on his name? The producer who directed the first Blade Runner film. Come on, brain. I know his name. I can almost see it written. I'm blanking. Well, anyway, um, Buzz Yorkin? Yeah, I hate getting blasted by music. And what I really hate is some of these YouTube channels where they think that annoying music will make their video more interesting than if they're just talking. And quite often they make the music so loud you can't hear what they're saying. And other times it's just annoying. And it'll be the same 2 or 3 phrases over and over on a loop. But anyway, who directed Blade Runner, the first one? My brain just went totally blank on his name. Ridley Scott, yeah. Thank you, Witta. Ridley Scott can't make up his mind. In 2049 particularly, the replicants have bones made of steel with their VIN numbers, basically, their serial numbers stamped into the steel. Their eyes have their serial numbers tattooed on them. They're like robots with inside a flesh coating. And then at the end, these homeless replicants who are rebels and fighting for their rights because they can give birth and have children and they're really human. Well, excuse me, their bones are made of steel, they have serial numbers printed on them. He can't make up his mind. And by the way, who needs the Voight-Kampff test for empathy if you can tell that someone's an android by reading their serial number off their bones or their eyeballs? In Phil's novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which has been also released as Blade Runner, they're organic. They're apparently grown in a lab, but they're all organic. No serial numbers, no parts put together. And his point was that they were, in many ways, more human than the humans. I mean, Deckard was dehumanized by his job killing androids. Here goes, oh, Luna Sparkles is here. Hi, Luna. So Deckard is dehumanized because his job is basically killing people. Yeah, well, organic, and not all of them, but Rachel apparently had false memories, hiccups at the wrong moment, false memories implanted so she would believe that she was human, that she really was Rachel, the daughter of the owner of the business. I think it's Rachel Rosen. Also, in the novel, there are other androids that look just like Rachel, but they're organic. No steel bones, no serial numbers. And it's basically a metaphor about slavery. The androids are slaves. They're genetically engineered to be stronger or prettier or, in some way superior to normal human beings, but they're basically human. But they're slaves. Also, in the novel and the movies, it's unlawful. It's illegal, against the law, for the androids or what they call replicants to be on Earth. And yet, in 2049, there are Deckard's at a cafe having lunch, and an android prostitute walks up to him, and he doesn't arrest her for being on Earth. He just doesn't want to pay for sex. Oh, yes, Lunar. Silver threads and golden needles. Great song. Loretta Lynn. She was one of the greats. Yeah, in the original Blade Runner, and in Phil's book it was Roy Batty, but in the movies Roy Batty. Rutger Hauer wrote most of that final scene himself. Yeah, a status thing to own an animal. Well, in the movies you don't see animals, but that's partly because it's expensive to have animals in a movie. You have to have a trained animal and the animal trainer and all kinds of stuff. You rarely see animals in stage plays because, I mean, what do you do if the dog poops on the stage or the cat gets frightened and climbs the curtain? Anyway, yeah, it's a totally different interpretation. It is not what Phil had in mind. I can see why they eliminated Mercerism, the Mercer box with Mercer walking up a hill while people throw rocks at him. And he turns out to be an alcoholic actor who was paid to walk up the hill. But there's something real about his religion anyway, and it has to do with empathy. In the novel, the Voight-Kampff test detects empathy, and supposedly the androids don't have empathy, and yet they form friendships among themselves. So I wonder if the Voight-Kampff test is even uh, accurate. Does it really detect empathy, or is it something else? Lassie on Broadway, imagine. You know, when Timmy was the boy who had Lassie, um, the dog that played Lassie, a girl dog, a female, was a male, but a pup from the original Lassie. And the story they tell, and I think it's true, is that that male dog was so uncooperative. They called him dumb, but I think he was just uncooperative. That when, say, Timmy fell in the well or the pond or the quicksand, they'd have to drag the dog over to where Timmy was so they could film Lassie rescuing him. He didn't want to do it. I've been on for over 2 hours. And my internet is still on, so I guess this is a good time. But it's after 10 p.m. here. This neighborhood needs some improvement. I keep hearing the neighbors loud. They're not in any conflict, they're just having a good time, apparently. Although sometimes there's conflict. Mostly a crazy woman who gets drunk and probably does drugs, just starts cussing a blue streak, even at her little 9-year-old child. And Both police and paramedics have been there so many times that they're tired of it. But there isn't much you can do with crazy California laws the way they are. I gotta say, though, her children are wonderful. She doesn't deserve them. And once in a while, some fool hires her to babysit. More than once, I've heard a parent come to get their child and just rip that woman a new one for the way she talks to those children. And right now, they appear to be having a good time. Oh, Oswald loves the evening streams. Yeah, I guess it was good in the morning, except my internet kept going down because Verizon is a bunch of skanks. They have no redundancy, no backups. There's basically two cell towers on the mountain, and I can access only one of them. So my theory is that around 8 or 9 in the morning, everybody and his brother gets on the internet either before work or school or because they work at home. So my connection is throttled. Harder to drink coffee in the evening, though. I have no problem as with falling asleep after drinking coffee, but I've had to cut way down because of my stomach problems. I don't like to have an achy tummy. I hope it's just the ulcers and the hernia and no cancer. I hope. But I'm learning which foods I can properly digest or digest better than others. I had to tell the nutritionist that I cannot work with her. She recommended a modified Mediterranean diet, which, by the way, is very low in protein. And then she said, don't eat wheat and don't drink cow's milk. And a few other things that were like, hey, lady, I'm not going to shop for my groceries at Trader Joe's. It's way far away and too expensive. And it's the only place that would have what, or chicken livers from organic pasture raised chickens. I like chicken livers, but you gotta be kidding me. Foster Farms is just fine. And I can get it at Goodwin's, usually. Sometimes all the fishermen buy up all the liver because it's great bait and our lake is full of trout. But I think the fishing season is over. Either it is or it will be soon. No fishing in winter. And I'm not giving up wheat or cow's milk because I can digest both of them just fine. And they have lots of calories. And I need the calories. I'm so skinny, it's pathetic. Trust me, it isn't nearly as bad for your health to be overweight. Being underweight means I'm short on essential nutrients, especially protein. All right. I'm at almost 2 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah, 59, 60, 210. And I'm kind of getting sleepy. I'll wake up at 6 if I go to bed now, but anyway, I can drink coffee right before bed and still fall asleep. But my tummy is getting to where it doesn't like it, so I'm sticking with instant because it has less acid and I'm lazy. Why clean the coffee pot and all that rigmarole? And I can just boil some water in the tea kettle. Yeah, I'm looking forward, as I said earlier, to seeing Walter again and meeting Cardinal Sin. Oh, Bosley won't eat all my food. He's on a special diet for his health. And Cardinal Sin won't eat my food because he's a vegan. And even my vegetables have butter. Not margarine, butter. There's a reason why cows are not an endangered species. We take very good care of them while they're growing. Well, Oswald, I can't say any more than I have about Walter's diet. I don't know a whole lot about it anyway. Oh, I got fat on oatmeal cookies. I love oatmeal. I forget why I quit eating oatmeal. I used to eat it 2 or 3 times a day. A bowl of oatmeal with raisins or oatmeal cookies. I don't like the stuff where you just pour boiling water in the bowl with the packet of oatmeal. That stuff's not oatmeal, it's crap. I make it from the 5-minute oatmeal, not the 1-minute oatmeal. Butter je t'aime. Yeah, I actually have a small stash of Kerrygold butter from Ireland. Grass-fed cows. And I have no guilt about drinking milk and eating butter because nobody's going to kill those cows. Yeah. Anyway, it really is time to sign off. And let's see. I gotta type my closing phrase. It's thank you all for listening and have a great day. It's been wonderful having all of you here. It's just amazing. Okay, good night, Horace. Burns and Allen's used to go. Good night, Grace. Say good night, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Dum de dum lullaby. Oh, yeah. Okay. Catch you later.